When most people think of the Middle Ages, they picture knights going to war, gleaming armor, castles, but the reality was quite different. You spent far more time worrying about the law. There was no justice in the Middle Ages. Let's go back for a moment to a world without written laws and look at the ordinary, everyday crimes that could have landed you on the death penalty in the Middle Ages. Bread theft. Imagine this. It's winter. Your family hasn't eaten in 2 days. Your youngest child is crying so quietly he no longer sounds human. You walk into the village market and see a single loaf of bread on a stall. Warm, fresh, just sitting there. You grab it. You don't run, you're too exhausted to run. A hand grabs your arm. A shout pierces the air. People gather. Within hours, you're tied to a post in the village square. Because in medieval Europe, stealing bread, the simplest food of all, was considered a threat to social order. If one hungry person stole, everyone might steal, and the rich would lose control. Cruel? Absolutely, but in their eyes, necessary. Breaking curfew. When the church bell rang at dusk, medieval life stopped. Not slowed, stopped, because the night was dangerous. Not metaphorically, literally. Wolves hunted villages. Thieves prowled. Superstition ruled the dark. People believed demons walked the streets after sunset. So towns enforced strict curfews. If you stepped outside after the bell, guards could kill you on sight. No trial, no questioning. You could be searching for a lost animal, or returning late from the fields, or just stepping out to breathe cool air. Didn't matter. Night belonged to death, and if you were caught in it, the law acted accordingly. Insulting a noble. Picture a tavern. Smoky air, weak ale, tired peasants complaining about tax collectors. One drunk man, frustrated after a long harvest, makes a joke about the Lord's steward. People laugh, except the steward. By morning, that man's body hangs from a post. In medieval society, insulting someone of higher status wasn't disrespect, it was rebellion, a crack in the social pyramid that had to be smashed immediately. Words, simple, harmless words, could kill you, damaging a lord's property. Now picture this. You're guiding your ox cart along a muddy road. One wheel slips, the cart jerks, and crashes through a wooden fence belonging to the local lord. Just a fence. Old, brittle, barely standing. But to the lord, it's his property. His symbol of power, his authority. You damaged it. And suddenly, you're treated not as a clumsy farmer, but as someone who attacked the noble class itself. You're taken to court, where the judge bows to the Lord and condemns you to death. One accident, one moment, one fence. Harboring a stranger. This crime is one of the most heartbreaking. You're in your cottage during a storm. A traveler knocks on your door, shaking, starving, drenched in rain. You let him in. You share your soup. You offer warmth by the fire. Your neighbor sees, and by morning, guards are at your door. Because strangers in the Middle Ages were feared. They could be plague carriers, criminals, spies, thieves, anything. So harboring one without permission was considered treason against the village. Your kindness, your humanity, punishable by death. Killing a deer, the king's animals. You walk through the forest, bow in hand. Your family hasn't had meat in weeks. You spot a deer, lean but alive. You shoot. But medieval forests didn't belong to the people. They belonged to kings and nobles. By killing a single deer, you committed a crime so severe that execution was almost guaranteed. Royal foresters patrolled these lands like soldiers, armed, ruthless, loyal to the crown. Many poachers were mutilated before being killed. Their bodies hung on trees as warnings. The message was simple. The animals live, you die. Herbal medicine. A woman gathers herbs by the river to treat her sick husband. It's an ordinary sight. Innocent, gentle, human. But a jealous neighbor whispers, "She's mixing poisons." In the Middle Ages, almost any woman with herbal knowledge could be accused of poisoning. No evidence needed. Fear was enough. Once accused, the outcome was nearly always death, often by burning. Not because she was guilty, but because the village feared what it didn't understand. Knowledge, healing, and women who dared to use both. Bread tampering. During famine, bakers sometimes stretched flour with sawdust or ground bark just to feed desperate villagers. They weren't trying to cheat, they were trying to survive. But bread was sacred. Bread was society. Bread was life. And anyone who corrupted it was seen as attacking the community's very foundation. The punishment? Instant execution. Usually public, always humiliating. meant to terrify other bakers into obedience. Using forbidden clothing. In the Middle Ages, even what you wore wasn't your choice. Society enforced strict clothing laws based on your class. Peasant, wool. Craftsman, linen. Noble, silk, fur, colored fabrics. Church, special woven cloth. If a peasant dared to dress like a noble, it wasn't just inappropriate clothing. It was seen as a threat to the social order. In some cities, wearing forbidden fur or noble fabrics could result in whipping, imprisonment, or even death. Clothing in the Middle Ages was more than fashion. It told everyone who you were, where you belonged, and who owned you. Wrong clothing, wrong class, sign of rebellion, and in many regions, the punishment was clear: death. What do all these crimes tell us? That medieval justice wasn't about right or wrong, that it wasn't even about crime. It was about control. Control through fear, control through violence. The laws weren't written, they weren't fair, they weren't consistent. Your fate depended on the weather, the Lord's mood, the neighbor's jealousy, or simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time. A world where bread, deer, strangers, jokes, fences, grass, or the night itself could kill you. That was medieval justice. So let me ask you, for what crime in the Middle Ages would you be most likely to be executed? Stealing bread? Speaking too openly? Helping a stranger? Breaking a rule you didn't even know existed?